The cold bit through Andy Bynum's jacket like it had teeth. Boston winter didn't care if you were a decorated Army Ranger or a ghost sleeping under concrete. It came for everyone the same. The I-93 overpass groaned above him, metal expanding and contracting in the pre-dawn freeze, each groan a reminder that nothing here was permanent. Not the cardboard shelter, not the soup kitchen meal warming his stomach, not even the breath misting from his daughter's lips as she slept curled against his chest. Andy's left knee throbbed, the one that took shrapnel in Fallujah. He learned to read weather by that ache. Storm coming. Maybe 2 days. Daniela stirred, 8 years old with dark curls matted from sleeping on flattened boxes. She opened her eyes and smiled like this was normal. Like home was supposed to smell like exhaust and frozen piss. "Morning, Sir Dad-a-lot," she whispered. "Morning, Princess." 3 years. 3 years of this. At the library, where they charged phones and pretended to belong. Andy scrolled through Craigslist on a computer that smelled like old coffee. His thumb stopped on a listing that shouldn't exist. Cold War bunker, $1,200, Stoneham, Massachusetts, as is cash only. The photo showed a rusted hatch half buried in dead leaves. Concrete. Isolated. Defensible. Andy counted the bills in his pocket. $1,247. Everything. Earl Hutchins met them at the property line, chain-smoking Marlboros with hands that wouldn't stop moving. Mid-60s, flannel shirt, the kind of nervous that came from knowing too much. "You buying 'em?" Earl's eyes flicked to Daniela, then away. Didn't say nothing about a kid. Money's green either way. And he kept his voice flat, the tone that made civilians uncomfortable. It worked. Earl led them through overgrown woods, talking too fast. Built in '62, Civil Defense Network, decommissioned in '78. County wanted it gone, previous caretaker, he stopped walking. Look, guy vanished in the '80s. Developers wanted the land, he wouldn't sell, then just gone. And he noticed Earl's gait, favoring the left leg, recent injury, maybe 6 weeks old. The way he kept glancing at the tree line, like something might be watching. The catch. Andy asked. No catch. Just history. Earl dropped the keys into Andy's palm like they burned. Cash today, it's yours. The hatch groaned open on rusted hinges. 20 feet down, a ladder disappeared into darkness that smelled like cold earth and old metal. Andy descended first, combat reflexes kicking in, check corners, assess exits, identify threats. The bunker was 30 by 30 feet. Concrete walls, low ceiling, and clean. Too clean for 40 years abandoned. Generator in the corner, fuel gauge showing a quarter tank. Shelves lined with canned goods, beans, soup, vegetables. Expiration dates from last year. Someone had been here. Recently. Dad, it's like a castle. Daniela's voice echoed as she climbed down, wonder lighting her face in a way Andy hadn't seen in months. That night, the generator hummed to life, throwing yellow light across their new home. Andy heated soup on a camping stove while Daniela arranged her 3 stuffed animals in a corner she'd claimed. She ate slowly, savoring every bite of the first hot meal they'd had in weeks. Maybe we can start over, Princess, Andy said, watching her smile. We already did, Dad, the minute we found our castle. But castles had secrets. The bunker was too well maintained. Fresh fuel. Recent food. A sealed door in the back marked restricted, bolted from their side, but with fresh scratches on the lock. On day 2, a German shepherd appeared outside the hatch, well-fed, no tags, acting like he owned the place. Daniela named him Sarge. The dog wouldn't stop growling at the restricted door. Day 3, Andy walked the perimeter at dawn. Found tire tracks on the access road, maybe a week old, and cigarette butts still faintly warm, expensive Dunhills. The kind man in suit smoked. His old instinct screamed, "You're being watched." Day 4, he met Ruby Chun at the VA office in town, a social worker with eyes that had seen too much bureaucracy to be fooled. "You're living off-grid with a minor? That's CPS territory. She's my daughter. Then keep it legal, Ranger, or they'll take her again." At Tommy Sullivan's auto shop, the Vietnam vet looked at Andy's address and went pale. The Stoneham bunker? Jesus, Kiji. Last guy who lived there, Boyd Nichols, vanished after developers came sniffing around. Night 5, everything changed. Daniela played hide-and-seek with Sarge, giggling as she squeezed behind the storage shelves. Found something, a loose panel, a hidden crawl space, a metal footlocker. Andy's hand started shaking before he even opened it. Inside, Polaroid photographs wrapped in plastic. The first photo stopped his heart. Him and Daniela sleeping on the cot, taken from inside the bunker. Angles suggested the photographer stood 8 feet away, in a locked space. While they slept, timestamp in black Sharpie. Night 1 to 11:47 p.m. He flipped through them. 5 nights. 5 photos. The last one was a close-up of Daniela's face, peaceful in sleep. On the back, written in careful script, "She's beautiful. You're living in something that doesn't belong to you." Andy's PTSD terror evaporated, replaced by something colder. The switch flipped from prey to predator. He found the camera in the air vent. Pinhole lens professionally installed. Still warm. Outside, 200 yards into the woods, he found the observation post. Cigarette butts. Energy drink cans. A spotting scope left behind like bait. Engraved on the side, VK Property Solutions, Boston. Andy crouched in the dark, scope in hand, and smiled without humor. The hunter had made a mistake. He'd given Andy a name. The library computer screen glowed blue in the dim corner where Andy sat, Daniela coloring at the children's table 20 feet away. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago. The photographs sat in his jacket pocket, edges sharp against his ribs like accusations. He typed, "VK Property Solutions Boston." The search results loaded slow, each second stretching. Andy's eyes tracked the entrance. 2 exits, 1 emergency, 12 civilians between him and Daniela. The man in the business suit by the periodicals had cop posture, but wrong shoes. Private security, maybe, watching, or coincidence. The first result made Andy's jaw tighten. Victor Crane Development, LLC, aggressive land acquisition and federal contracting. Recent news. Crane wins $40 million National Guard training facility contract. Location pending. Groundbreaking in 30 days or forfeit. Andy scrolled deeper. Found the pattern buried in local news archives. Boyd Nichols, 1987. Filed harassment complaints against VK Property Solutions. Vanished 2 weeks later. Body never found. Then 7 more names. All veterans. All Massachusetts. All lost their land to Crane within 6 months of accidents. House fires ruled arson, but unsolved psychiatric commitments after mysterious breakdowns. Code violations that appeared overnight. Andy screenshotted everything, hand steady despite the rage building in his chest. Ruby Chin's office smelled like burnt coffee and bureaucracy. She looked at the photographs spread across her desk, then at Andy, then back at the photos. Jesus Christ. Her voice was flat. "You need to call the police." "And tell them what?" "Homeless vet squatting on property someone's watching. They'll take Daniela. Put me in a psych ward for paranoia." Tommy Sullivan leaned against the wall, arms crossed, jaw tight. The Vietnam vet had seen the research, knew what it meant. "So what's your play, Ranger?" Andy met his eyes. "Make him stop." Tommy nodded once, walked to the corner, dragged out an old Marine footlocker. Inside, oiled weapons wrapped in cloth. He lifted a .45 pistol, checked the chamber, handed it to Andy with 2 boxes of ammunition. "You remember how to use this?" Andy's hands moved without thought. Press check, chamber clear, magazine seated, slide release. Muscle memory from another life. "Yeah," Andy said quietly. "I remember." The Stoneham diner smelled like grease and weak coffee. Andy sat in the corner booth, back to the wall, watching the parking lot through rain-streaked windows. Ruby and Tommy occupied separate tables. Samantha Burke, the Boston Globe reporter Ruby trusted, recorded from a counter, phone hidden in her purse. At exactly 2 p.m., a black Mercedes pulled up. Victor Crane stepped out like he owned the air he breathed. 55, silver hair, $3,000 suit. He brought a lawyer in cheaper fabric and 2 men in tactical casual wear. Ex-military, both carrying concealed, one favoring his right shoulder like an old rotator cuff injury. Crane slid into the booth across from Andy, smile polite and empty. "Mr. Bynum." His voice was Harvard-educated silk. "You served in Fallujah, 2nd Battalion, 75th Rangers. Impressive record." Andy said nothing. Crane's lawyer placed a tablet on the table, turned it. Security camera feeds, live. Ruby's office. Tommy's auto shop. The bunker entrance. "I have endless resources, Mr. Bynum. You have homeless friends and fading military skills." Crane's smile never wavered. "Here's what happens. Take $10,000, leave today. Or CPS gets an anonymous call. You go to prison, Daniela goes to foster care, I get my land. Everyone loses except me." The diner went quiet. Andy could hear rain drumming on the roof, his own heartbeat, the slight tremor in Crane's left hand that said he wasn't as confident as he pretended. Andy stood slowly. Crane's security tensed. "You made a mistake," Andy said, voice low and cold. "Should have killed me the first night. Instead, you gave me time. Time to get angry. Time to remember what I'm good at." He leaned close, hands flat on the table. "You come near my daughter, they'll find pieces of you spread across 3 counties." Crane's smile died, and he walked out into the rain. Ruby and Tommy followed. Behind them, Samantha kept recording. That night, Daniela stayed at Tommy's house, sleepover with Mr. Red, while Andy transformed the bunker into a fortress. Reinforced doors, tripwires at the tree line, motion sensors wired to speakers. The .45 loaded, spare magazines within reach. At 11 p.m., the sensors tripped. 3 vehicles, 8 men in tactical gear, professional spacing, suppressed weapons, night vision. A voice boomed through a megaphone. "You're trespassing on private property. Exit immediately, or you will be removed by force." Andy stood in the darkness below, rifle across his chest. He chambered a round, loud, deliberate, the metal on metal sound carrying in the cold air. No response, just waiting. They tried a flashbang through the air vent. Andy had welded it shut that afternoon. The grenade bounced off, detonated in the woods. Someone cursed. Then the Mercedes arrived. Crane's voice, no megaphone now, just cold and close. "Mr. Bynum, let's be clear. I need this land. You can leave with cash, or leave in a body bag. Your choice." Andy smiled in the dark. "Come down here," he called up. "We'll discuss it." Silence. Then Crane again, all pretense gone. "You have until sunrise." The vehicles didn't leave. Engines idling. Men taking positions. Andy checked his ammunition. 5 magazines. 40 rounds total. 8 men outside. More coming. The odds had just gotten worse. The bunker smelled like gun oil and cold sweat. Andy crouched in the darkness of the storage room, listening to boots on frozen ground above. 3 hours until sunrise. His bad knee screamed from holding position, but he didn't move. Couldn't. Through the crack in the door, he watched the main chamber. Empty cot. Cold generator. The tripwire he'd strung at ankle height, nearly invisible in the shadows. Above, metal scraped metal. They were cutting the hatch. Andy counted footfalls from men in tactical formation, spacing too perfect, movements too synchronized. Ex-military, the kind who knew what they were doing, which meant they'd expect resistance. But not from where. The breaching charge detonated with a sound like God slamming a door. The hatch blew inward, twisted metal clanging down the ladder. Smoke poured through the opening. For shapes descended fast, suppressed weapons, night vision covering angles. The first man's boot caught the tripwire. Andy triggered the homemade flashbang. Road flares duct taped to a fire extinguisher. Sarges recorded barking blasting through speakers he'd rigged. The confined space turned into strobing chaos. Sound amplified until it became physical. He emerged from the storage room with the shotgun, fired low. Not to kill, to destroy. Their night vision shattered. Radio sparked. One man's weapon clattered across concrete. Next time I aim higher. Before we continue, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop your city or country in the comments right now. I want to see how far this story about brotherhood and protection travels. And if you believe in content that reminds us what real strength looks like, hit that subscribe button. All right, family, let's continue the story. They retreated up the ladder like water draining, professional enough to know when to fold. Outside, a voice crackled over radio. Targets had serious training. This isn't some homeless vet. Yeah, Andy muttered to the empty bunker. It isn't. Then headlights flooded the clearing. Not Crane's vehicles. Tommy Sullivan's old Chevy, followed by 4 more trucks. 6 Vietnam vets stepped out, hunting rifles visible, phones recording. They surrounded Crane's Mercedes in a loose perimeter. Citizens arrest for trespassing. Tommy's voice carried like a drill sergeant's. We're documenting everything, boys. Smile for the camera. Through the hatch, Andy watched Crane's face go rigid. Too many witnesses. Too much exposure. Fall back, Crane said quietly. His mercenaries melted into the tree line, but Andy saw it. 2 men staying behind, thermal scopes glinting in the dark. Surveillance. They weren't leaving, just waiting. Dawn broke gray and cold. Andy sat against the bunker wall, rifle across his lap, running on adrenaline and coffee that tasted like rust. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. The rotary phone rang. Impossible. The line hadn't worked in decades. Andy lifted the receiver. Yeah, still alive. Crane's voice, smooth as poison. Impressive. Here's what happened this morning. CPS received a very detailed complaint. Unstable veteran, unsanitary living conditions, child endangerment. Emergency custody order issued an hour ago. Andy's vision tunneled. You can't. Already done. But I can make it disappear. Sign the property over. Leave Massachusetts. The order vanishes. Daniela stays yours. A pause. What choice do you have? The line went dead. Andy's hand stopped shaking. Something colder than fear settled in his chest. The certainty that he was going to lose her either way. Unless someone burned Crane first. Ruby Chin's voice was frantic over the phone. 4 hours, Andy. That's all we have before they pick her up. Samantha, Andy said. The story. Now. It's not verified. I need more. Ruby. Now. 30 minutes later, the Boston Globe published. Developer Victor Crane accused of stalking, terrorizing homeless veterans. Photos. Testimony. 8 names. Boyd Nichols' disappearance. Within an hour, hashtag Justice for Andy was trending. News vans heading to Stoneham. Phones ringing in government offices. Crane saw the article on his phone and threw it across the Mercedes. Burn it, he told his mercenary leader, Marcus Wade. Burn the bunker down. I don't care about witnesses anymore. Wade stared at him. That's an illegal order. You're paid to follow orders. Wade holstered his weapon. Not these. He walked away, 3 of his team following. Crane made another call. Different number. Cheaper men. At 2 p.m., 6 vehicles approached. Not tactical gear this time. Just thugs in denim and flannel, carrying Molotov cocktails like they were going to tailgate party. Andy saw them through the scope. No discipline. No formation. Just violence looking for permission. He called Ruby. Get Daniela out of state. Right now. Andy, what are you? Tell her daddy loves her. He hung up. Loaded the shotgun. Checked the .45. 40 rounds total against 6 men who didn't care if they died. The math was simple. He wouldn't survive this. But Daniela would be far away. Safe. That was enough. The first Molotov shattered against the hatch. Flames spread across frozen ground. Smoke poured into the bunker. Andy pulled his shirt over his mouth, gripped the shotgun, and started up the ladder. Then, sirens. Dozens of them. State police. Federal marshals. Black SUVs with FBI plates. The thugs scattered. Crane's Mercedes tried to flee. A cruiser blocked the road. Andy climbed out of the smoke, hands up, coughing. Federal agents swarmed the clearing, weapons drawn. Andrew Bynum? You're not under arrest. We need your statement. Crane was on his knees, hands cuffed, screaming about lawyers and harassment. Then, footsteps running through the trees. Daddy, Daniela crashed into him, Ruby right behind her. Andy collapsed to the ground, holding his daughter so tight he couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but feel her heartbeat against his chest. I've got you, princess, he whispered. I've got you. Over her shoulder, through the crowd of officers and agents and cameras, Andy saw Crane being loaded into a federal van. Their eyes met. Crane smiled. Not defeated. Promised. And Andy realized this wasn't over. The trial was just beginning. The courthouse smelled like floor polish and old wood, the kind of institutional clean that couldn't quite hide decades of human desperation soaked into the walls. Andy sat in the federal courtroom, Daniela pressed against his side, her small hand gripping his jacket like a lifeline. His knee throbbed from the hard bench. 3 hours of testimony, 3 hours of reliving the photographs, the siege, the moment he thought he'd lose her forever. The lead marshal had told him 6 months ago, "You're not under arrest. We need your statement." 15 counts. Conspiracy. Stalking. Attempted arson. Fraud spanning 2 decades. The FBI had been building the case for years, watching Crane destroy veterans one by one. Andy's evidence, the photographs, the recordings, Samantha's article, gave them permission to move. Now Victor Crane stood in an orange jumpsuit, silver hair gone gray, hands cuffed, while the judge read the verdict. 15 years, federal prison. Assets seized. Company dissolved. Crane's eyes found Andy across the courtroom. Not angry. Empty. Like a machine finally powered down. The judge turned to Andy. "Mr. Bynum, this court owes you an apology. You showed remarkable courage. We failed to protect you when we should have. Full custody restored. Settlement. $380,000. Property legally transferred. Fraudulent sale overturned. Legitimate title granted. The clerk handed Andy the deed. Heavy paper, embossed seal, his name in black ink that wouldn't fade. "It's really ours, princess," he whispered, tears cutting tracks down his face. "No one can take it away." Daniela looked up at him, 8 years old and already too wise. "We were always going to win, Dad. You never lose when you fight for what matters." Spring came to Massachusetts like a prayer answered. The bunker property transformed under Andy's hands. Fresh paint on the hatch, new locks, gardens where weeds used to choke the access road. He built a sign from reclaimed wood, letters carved deep, Bynum House, transitional housing for veterans and families. 12 beds, kitchen, counseling offices. Tommy managed maintenance, teaching skills with the patience only another vet could have. Ruby handled intake and VA coordination. Samantha sat on the board, kept the press honest, made sure nobody forgot what Crane had done. The first residents arrived on a Tuesday. 3 men, Army, Marines, Navy, carrying garbage bags of belongings and ghosts nobody else could see. 2 brought children. Andy met them at the door, Sarge at his side, Daniela helping carry blankets. "Welcome home," he said simply. "You're safe here." One man, Carlos, late 20s, Iraq veteran with burn scars on his hands, stared at the bunker entrance like it might disappear. "How long can we stay?" "Long as you need," Andy said. "This isn't charity. It's family." Nights after everyone slept, Andy walked the perimeter. Old habits, checking locks, testing fences, listening for engines that didn't belong. But the fear was different now. Not running, just protecting what mattered. He stood at the tree line where Crane's men had watched from. Found the old observation post, cigarette butts long since weathered away. From here, you could see the whole property, the bunker, the gardens, the lights burning warm in windows that used to be dark. Tommy found him there one evening, 2 beers in hand. "You good, kid?" Andy took the beer. "Yeah, just remembering. The siege. Before that, when I thought this place would bury us." He gestured at the lights below. "Turns out it saved us instead." Tommy nodded, sipped his beer, stared at nothing for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried weight. "Got a call today. From Crane's lawyer." Andy went still. "What?" "He's appealing. New evidence, procedural errors, something about inadmissible testimony." Tommy met his eyes. "Hearings in 6 weeks. If it goes his way." The beer bottle slipped from Andy's hand, shattered on frozen ground. "If it goes his way, he walks." "Yeah." Below them, through the bunker's window, Andy could see Daniela doing homework at the table, safe and warm and trusting that the world would stay that way. Tommy's voice was quiet. "Thought you should know." Andy's hands clenched into fists, old reflexes waking up. The warrior he'd put to sleep stirring again. Because Crane wasn't done, and neither was he. The fire crackled low, throwing amber light across faces that had seen too much war and not enough peace. Spring evening air carried the smell of pine and wood smoke, soft enough to forget that winter had tried to kill them all just months ago. Andy sat on a split-log bench, Daniela asleep against his shoulder, her breathing steady and trusting. Sarge lay at their feet, gray muzzle resting on paws, eyes half closed, but always watching. Carlos, the new guy, Marine Corps, Iraq, burn scars mapping his hands, stared into the flames like he was reading something written there. "How'd you end up here?" he asked quietly. Andy looked down at Daniela, her small hand curled around his jacket. "Bought a bunker to hide from the world," he said. "Found a family instead." Tommy Sullivan raised his coffee mug, the liquid steaming in the cool air. to second chances. The others echoed it. 6 voices, 6 wars, 6 roads that all led here. Laughter rolled through the group, genuine and unforced, the kind that only comes when broken things start healing together. Andy realized something then. These men weren't charity cases. They were his brothers. The unit he never had. The home he'd spent 20 years searching for. Daniela stirred, eyes opening just a crack. "Dad, are we safe now?" He kissed her forehead, tasting the wood smoke in her hair. "Yeah, princess. We're safe. We're home." She smiled, trusting completely, and fell back asleep. Later, after the fire died and the others retreated to their bunks, Andy walked the perimeter alone. Old habits, the kind that kept you alive in Fallujah and kept you sane everywhere after. But the fear was different now. Not running, just protecting. He checked locks, tested the fence line, listened for engines that didn't belong. Found nothing but silence and starlight. At the tree line, he stopped, looked back at the bunker, lights burning warm in every window, smoke rising from the chimney Tommy had installed, Daniela's drawing visible on the door even from here. Castle Bunker, where heroes live. He thought about the man he used to be, broken, homeless, sleeping under I-93 with his daughter pressed against his chest, both of them freezing and afraid. Then he thought about the man he was now. Father, protector, leader of men who needed someone to tell them they mattered. "I spent years trying to escape the soldier I used to be," he whispered to the darkness. Turns out that soldier is exactly who they needed. He looked up at the stars, the same ones he'd seen over Fallujah, over Kabul, over every place where brothers had fallen, and he'd kept walking. "We made it, guys," he said to the night. "Finally made it home. Wish you could see this." For the first time since the war, the ghost didn't answer back. The bunker stood like a heartbeat in the Massachusetts hills. Light poured from its windows, warm and steady, a beacon for the lost and the broken. Laughter drifted through the spring air. Inside, Carlos was teaching Daniela chess while Tommy fixed coffee. Ruby reviewed intake paperwork at the kitchen table. Andy stood in the doorway, Sarge at his side, tail wagging slowly. Behind him, the road he'd walked for 3 years, cold and hungry and alone. Ahead, the family he'd fought for, bled for, nearly died for. "They say home is where the heart is," he murmured. "I used to think that was garbage." Daniela looked up from the chessboard and waved. "But I get it now. Home isn't a place. It's the people you die to protect." He stepped inside, closed the door, locked it. And for the first time in my life, I'm home. Bynum House has served 147 veterans in 2 years. 87% successfully transitioned to permanent housing and employment. Victor Crane is serving his sentence at FCI Hazleton, West Virginia. Parole d'honneur. Daniela Bynum graduated high school with honors and attends college on a full scholarship, studying social work. The bunker still stands, a reminder that broken things can be made whole, and that the warriors who protect us don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they just wear the scars. If you believe that real heroes don't wear capes, they look like our normal, everyday people, like and share this story. Subscribe now for more stories. Also check out the 2 videos showing on the screen right now, specially crafted for you.